Welcome to IGN Live, presented by Midway in theaters November 8th. I'm here with Chad Michael Collins of Call of Duty. You play one of the protagonists, Alex Echo 3. We're going to get into your character, we're going to get into the process, we're going to get into your history as an actor. But first, we're going to check out the cinematic, so let's boot things up here. Going to restart. You folks at home enjoy.
All foreign power from our soil.
He was so great.
We are Al-Qatala. We are the killers. We fight without sorrow. We wage war without sympathy. This is the only way to live and die a true soldier.
Echo 3-1 to Charlie 2 actual.
Go for actual.
LZ is in sight.
Looks like our boys are right on time, Colonel.
Roger 3-1. Hitman teams are locked and loaded for assault. You are green to go.
Colonel, we may have a problem.
Too late, Laswell. We're live.
Not until I say so. Watch it at 3-1. How copy?
Station Chief Laswell, send traffic.
General Barkov has sent a new shipment of chlorine gas to his depot. But his mercs are prepping to move the chems into Urzikstan via convoy tonight. You're still clear to engage, but live fire on Russian military is prohibited. We cannot have an international incident.
No guarantees Russian army won't respond on this case.
Understood, Alex. Just locate the gas, comment to your Barkov's trucks, and get off the X before the tide turns.
Copy, Watcher. We'll handle it. Let's move.
All Hitman teams push to your set point.
Roger, over.
We need to keep this on a tight loop. Barkov's men are moving the gas tonight.
What are the odds we run into General Barkov?
Russian general wouldn't be caught dead out here.
Cinematic, and obviously that's kind of pre-rendered this beautiful
Heads up.
3D animation. But then it transitions into live gameplay when it punches into that screen, and then it transitions from third to first person.
Right.
And I think that's really cool. So the situation is we're investigating some Russian gas that is potentially going to be stolen.
Right.
And we're trying not to engage any Russian nationalist forces.
They're game. Drop them.
Tricky business, huh?
Yeah.
We're clear. Copy. Post up on the ridge.
So,
Let's get the lay of the land.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I like so much, for clarity, I've played through the entire campaign, and
Echo 3-1 to
what I like so
Viking
much about
5.
it,
Call for fire. Stand by for
is it
target
feels like,
confirmation.
it feels, I guess, not
Let's recce the area.
very Hollywood, if that makes sense.
Right.
It feels much more.
It's gritty, right?
Yeah.
It's real. It's intense.
Was that the sense that you got working with the narrative team, and was that kind of your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean that's what they were going for. It's just that hyper
Medium
realism.
transport truck.
You know, very rarely the curtains pulled back
Moving
on
in the rail
what
yard.
stuff like this looks like. Clandestine operations and these proxy wars and these occupied territories.
Patrol vehicle,
It's
contractors.
a very real thing, and I know they were leaning really heavily into telling that story rather than just reading about something like that.
So we're going to call in an airstrike after
Blue
we've
Viking
decided that
5,
there's
this
no
is
Russian
Echo
military
3-1.
presence here.
Troops in the open, south gate.
And
We're cleared hot.
Roger 3-1.
Taylor Kursaki, I had a chance to chat with that gentleman at the review event. He made a pretty strong impression. What was your experience working with him?
Oh, he was the best. Taylor was our fearless leader, our director the entire time. Could not be a nicer guy, a more fun guy to work with. Just really, really open to, you know, letting actors originate these characters. So he was a real actors director and just had such a strong vision for this game.
We'll
And
take it from here.
everything you're seeing is a result of him and hundreds of other people's hard work.
So can you tell me about Alex? He's somewhat cryptic in the sense that we don't know his last name. He's just called Alex, aka Echo 3-1. And we're just in a little technical mode here. It's not on.
Hold up.
Mike's not up.
Oh boy. It's on. Sorry, technical problems, folks. The antenna
Hey, I
is
hear you,
not
man.
screwed in.
There we go.
Smoke 'em down.
Oh boy.
Man.
My team's gonna be upset with me. Is that better, Alexio? You tell me, man. The mic was on, for the record, if anybody's keeping track at home. So tell me about Alex. Can you describe the character and kind of what his motivations are and how you would define him?
Yeah, you know, like what you see from the opening is, you know, if there's an issue or a potential issue, Alex is CIA, Special Activities Division. You know, they can't just call in the Army, the Marines, the Navy SEALs right away. They got to go in and get a lay of the land in these very tricky situations. So Alex is the guy who's a bit off the books. He goes in first with a squad, and he checks it out, assesses the risks, and just tries to get a sense of what we're dealing with here in terms of enemies of the state. So, you know, he's a top secret commando. He's a guy that doesn't really have a record. Aliases, and as you can see here, he does what needs to be done. He gets his hand dirty with the dirty work.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, kind of first one in, and then getting behind enemy lines. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely reminded of, and this is something that I know Taylor I discussed with, as well as Joel is another one of
Joel,
the narrative guys and the art director. Just the inspirations, Sicario.
Yes,
is one of them, and I think this guy is one of the people who could have been in that film in terms of
right.
All right, so all hell is about to break loose.
Let you concentrate.
Oh, we're good. I'll be fine. Yeah, this is the first time in the game where the crap kind of hits the fan and you're introduced to some of the combat mechanics, like the ability to mount.
Yeah, that clearing corners feature is incredible.
Yeah.
That was a huge part of the Navy SEALs who advised us on this. You know, a lot of the work that we did was tactical movement, and the clearing corners stuff is so fundamental to what these soldiers do, right, in these firefights, and we spent a lot of work on that.
It's interesting. There are points in this game where something cinematic is happening, and I often found myself not paying attention to it, just kind of trying to focus on whatever was next.
Oh, it's so beautiful, right? It's a high-end Hollywood film. It looks incredible.
Oh, you're still alive, man. Woo! Ooh. Can't die. That's the rule. That's the rule of the live.
I know this screen really well. This is the screen that I live in. Just the heavy breathing and the blood splatter when I play.
Yeah. If it happens on an IGN live stream, they just say trash in the chat. But that's all they're saying anyway. So
come on, treat Alex better, man. He deserves better.
Agreed. So talk to me about the process of portraying a player character. So this is something that obviously doesn't really come up in Hollywood, or maybe it does in the sense of like a neutral mask. But what is it like portraying a character that is going to be played, that is going to be kind of inhabited by somebody else's will?
I mean, it's surreal, you know. The cool thing about this role for me was the players will get to see this conflict unfold through Alex's eyes. And, you know, for me, that was a really unique experience shooting it. You know, you work in television and film, you've got a script, you know what's going to happen. You know, everybody's just watching you, you know, from that fourth wall perspective, right? This is seeing through my eyes. So a lot of the stuff that I filmed was through the camera, capturing what I was seeing. So
that's so cool.
It's really cool, and it's a really awesome responsibility to have to the fans and the gamers out there, to be able to, you know, play Alex and let them live through me, so to speak.
So one of your co-stars, Barry Sloan, who portrays Captain Price. This box is still freaking out. I told him about that. It's just so scared. It's very scary in here. Oh, wow. We got some scary business happening here. So Barry Sloan portrays Captain Price. He equated mocap to more of a theater performance.
Yeah.
And would you agree with that?
It's pretty accurate. You know, Barry's an accomplished theater actor and now an accomplished television and film actor, but I'd never done a day of theater in my life. So, but it was, and I understand the similarity. You know, we're on a big stage, we have our marks, you know, movements encouraged, volume in the voice, you know, especially when you're in a high stakes situation. So it's a lot different than television, you know, and film in the way that they'll get in there for that gnarly close up. and stuff like that. It really is a lot more fluid, and you got 50+ cameras picking up your every single movement, covered from all angles. So start to finish, you have to be word perfect. You know, they can't fix it in the editing room, so that was on us as actors in terms of preparation. So it very much was like theater and using that playground of the imagination. We had PVC pipe rigs for stuff like this, choppers and trucks and whatever, and this is the final result.
So we're swabbing this Russian gas to make sure it's what we're here for, and it is. And for those who have been paying attention to our conversation on what's going on in game, we just ran into some Spetsnaz, which are obviously Russian military forces.
Yeah, elite.
Right. And so that's bad news because that's kind of a no-fly zone for us. And I'm gonna go radio silent here and kind of let this play out.
All stations, we are Oscar Mike to the RV. Watch your sectors.
Good work, Alex. Rally at the hook point for egress. Watcher to 3-1, how copy? Alex, 2-8, over.
I got you. 3-1. Who the fuck is this?
Sige, answer. Malulusin. Marines. Amitan. Nasi mitarak. Paran.
Echo 3-1 to Watcher.
Alex, what happened?
Terrorist attack. Multiple Marines KIA. Gas stolen. We need evac now.
Roger. Tracking multiple Russian forces headed your way. Sit tight. We're pushing to you for fast exfil. Watcher out.
This operation is now compartmentalized.
What the hell does that mean?
Means you no longer have clearance, Colonel.
Those are my Marines. We need a QRF in there right now.
That's not advisable.
And that is not your call.
Colonel, Laswell.
General, my men.
Norris, give us a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got a situation. The Kremlin has suspended all deconfliction channels. The Sixth Fleet is pushing into the Black Sea, and chemical weapons are now in the wild. Your fingerprints are all over this, Laswell. Fix it.
General, right now intelligence is our best weapon.
We've tried intelligence. Get me a better weapon.
John,
Aswell.
where are you?
Occupied.
I've got a problem.
Russians?
Word travels fast. Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be anywhere. Paris, New York.
London.
When can you brief?
We just did.
All right, now we're in London,
Sergeant Garrick, roger up.
Go for
and we're
Garrick.
playing Sergeant Garrick, Kyle Garrick.
Welcome to the game, Captain Price. How about that opening?
I know,
for him,
that was
huh?
great.
Unbelievable.
Subverting some expectations there, which is nice. For those of you who are just joining us, this is IGN Live, presented by Midway in theaters November 8th. I'm joined by Chad Michael Collins, who plays Alex, a.k.a. Echo 3-1. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a lot like Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is a crazy, weird designation that you have to compartmentalize. But you play as multiple protagonists. And so we've kind of switched perspectives, and we're playing with a different character right now. Did you have any interaction with members of this part? Obviously, there is some convergence in the plot line, but how did that work?
Yeah, they're two kind of standalone storylines to start the game, right? And eventually we find our way together. And I think it's really cool that players get to suit up, as all these different new characters. Kyle Garrick here, played by the wonderful Elliot Knight. And then, there's stuff, I don't know how much we want to reveal going on, but you play as a few other characters too and they're quite intense experiences. So this is, you know, Kyle's side of the equation.
Yeah.
You know, Alex just went through some kind of awful situation in Urzikstan, fictional Urzikstan, and now he's going through an arguably worse situation in London with civilians and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where, you know, I think the first mission for me was very much about spectacle. It looked very pretty. It was kind of a tutorial. This feels like a trial by fire, and also just, you know, you just don't know what's happening. It's absolutely chaotic. I'm gonna pick up a different weapon here real quick if I can. So yeah, I think that the tonal differences between, at least at this point, Garrick and Alex is Alex feels seasoned. Alex feels like, man, a lot of his squad just got wiped out, and obviously that's very, very traumatic. But at the same time, he's going to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, he's no stranger to loss, right? He's no stranger to having comrades go down. You know, the type of stuff he does is, you know, he's on his own. You know, he's out there in the wild, and you know, he can't really call in for support most of the time, and if something goes awry, there's a body count. Right, he's seen it before. You get that sense about him, right?
So let's talk about some of your previous experience before. Is this the first video game that you worked on?
I worked on a game called Hidden Agenda for a while, which is, came out a couple of years ago. I was one of the twins in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Fallen Order. What is it? Fallen
Order?
Way.
The MMO.
The twins.
That was a very interesting narrative.
Yeah, I did the cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
I did that.
I remember that.
And played the twin who is the nasty twin.
The fun one.
Yeah, the fun one. So that was kind of a fun first dip into motion capture for me. But this is the first big game I've been a part of, playing a lead and taking it all the way through.
And then you've obviously been a part of the Sniper series for a long time, in terms of a more kind of conventional cinematic resume. So how did that experience kind of play into this role?
Yeah. For those who don't know, I do the lead role in a Sony military action franchise called Sniper. I've done 4 movies. Me and Tom Berenger and Billy Zane, who were in the original one. And I play the son of Tom Berenger, the legendary Thomas Beckett Sniper. I play Brandon Beckett. And I do get to have a little hands-on technical training. Ooh.
Bad news.
Oh.
It was a poor time to reload.
You're doing 1,000 times better than I was. So I'm grateful that
still alive, so I'm
it's
happy
in your
about
hands. But being able to work with technical advisors and getting to do military movies like that for sure prepared me, at least for the audition process, to fool them enough to be considered, I suppose, for this role.
Suicide bomber right in my face.
Oh, jeez, suicide.
All right, let's get a trash in the chat. Oh, the clown emojis are already here. Great. This is my life on a day-to-day basis. It's
harsh critics.
Yeah.
I hope they realize that you're trying to have a conversation while also
playing an
intensely hard game. I don't
funny.
know how you're doing
the
it.
same comments, so I've been posting gameplay on IGN for a while, and I'm decent, pretty good at shooters, and they're always like, who is this guy? He's not an IGN employee, and it's been like that for 5 or 6 years now. Who is this? This is Captain Price.
Captain Price, welcome to the party.
Man, what a great performance.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed his character.
Yeah, played by Barry Sloan, for those not aware. Amazing actor. And he's the new Captain Price, and I could not imagine a better fit.
What's crazy is I thought that the same voice actor who played him before was playing him now.
Yeah.
Because it was that seamless. And it was like, I know this guy,
Yeah. Well, the big difference between maybe some of those old games and our games is, we were suited up. We did full motion capture, full performance. That's Barry, and that was me. And this is, Elliot in that way. Yeah, I remember playing this. I was one of the people on the side here. They had me stand in as kind of an extra when they filmed the scene.
It's kind of a trip to see your faces in real life, because it's like you recognize kind of an uncanny digital version of yourself. Yeah.
This is intense, huh?
This is super intense.
Can't save him. Gotta go. Oof. Crazy decision to have to make in a situation like that.
Yep. And that's a running theme in this game.
Yeah.
Is, blurring the ethical line, but trying to end up on the right side of it. Yeah. And I think it's pretty well handled for the most part.
Yeah.
And I really like that subject matter is discussed.
Right.
I'm good. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, sir. They sent us in half-assed. So everyone could just keep pretending we're not at war.
Yeah, like the fucking century, that is.
Why have we got our hands tied? Let's just take the bloody gloves off and fight. Sir.
Go on.
We don't stand a chance in hell with these rules of engagement, Captain. They can tell us where, they can tell us when. Don't tell us how. My memory tracking that cell for weeks.
You had actual intel on this?
Quite a bit, sir.
Okay, Garrett. You're with me.
Alcantara's claiming responsibility.
Oh, Audition for Urzikstan.
Alex is on the ground there looking for the stolen chems.
Well, he'll need the Liberation Force on his side, so have him contact the CR.
You know Commander Karim?
We're acquainted. Use my name, or they'll kill him.
What is your message from Captain Price?
Commander Karim. Call me Alex.
I'm listening, Alex.
This is classified.
Hello, Radami. Jazuli halkom.
48 hours ago, terrorists stole a shipment of Russian gas.
Only Alcatala would do this.
The Russians make no distinction between Alcatala and your people.
And I make no distinction between Alcatala and the Russian army. They're both terrorists. We would never use these poisons.
Then help us track it before they...
Before they what? Take it to Europe? Or America? We live like this every day.
Commander, it's time to go. Who is this?
Alex, this is my brother and Lieutenant, Hadir.
You are CIA?
He works with Captain Price.
Then you kill Russians, yes?
I have friends who can help us. But your sister decides what's next.
Of course. My sister is in command. And the Russian army is still here.
This occupation must end. That we can all agree on, yes? General Barkov's men control the city. We have plans to change that.
We have no missiles, but we have our ways.
If you stay, we can help you. But if you stay, you fight.
Yelling out to him.
Marhaba Ali Urzikstan, Alex.
Follow me.
Is it kind of a trip to see?
These tunnels are our lifeline. We have intel Russian troop commanders are in town today. We're going to ambush
Different
them.
costumes, different environments, because you're capturing in a motion capture suit.
Right. Get their attention.
And pull security away from the Russian base, leaving it open to an attack.
We must hold nothing back.
Too far on that path, and we lose ourselves. Get set for the airbase attack.
Be safe. Alex, take these charges. C4 with remote detonator.
Thanks.
Watch my sister. Good luck.
You too. By the way, I'm seeing it for the first time.
This would be pretty special, man.
It's live viewing for me.
That's very exciting.
Merki?
Zeleme kafu. Here, Alex. Put this up.
Oops. Despot.
Not
it's
that
okay.
coffee
happens all the
mug.
time.
How do we look?
It'll do. Tarek, what's the report?
So we just met
Russians are
Farah
just
and
outside.
Hadir.
If
Yep.
they see your weapons, they will shoot.
That happens. Our plan fails before it starts. Alex, our guns give us away. Keep it hidden.
And Alex has a lot of interaction with Farah. This is
Yeah.
characters that are
We become,
very close to one another.
yes.
Tell me about the process of working with the actress who portrayed Farah and kind of developing that chemistry.
Yeah, Claudia Dumit plays Farah. Did an incredible job. Her and Aiden Bristow, who you met as her brother Hadir in her second in command. Phenomenal actors. Full Middle Eastern accent, everything. Speaking Arabic.
Kind of dirty work.
apologize for my bad Arabic on that in this game. Everyone, we had an advisor, but I'm sure I messed it up horribly. But they were wonderful. I mean, they just completely originated these characters in ways that surprised and delighted everybody.
So do you have a sense of how kind of your performance is going to be used, or is the initial mental image, so in that scene, for instance, by the way, Farrah just threw a knife at a guy's face and took him out, which is really cool.
That's kind of what she does.
So that scene, for instance, this kind of interrogation turned camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a sense of how it's going to look, how folks are going to be dressed, or is it just all like you're just trying to give the best performance you can?
Yeah, you know, we filmed everything, and then as they go and render it, and they were really cool about showing us some, like, hey, it's not finished yet, but take a look. This is how this has turned out, and that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But and even in terms of Alex, I had no idea he was gonna be rocking that handsome mustache. And the sleeves, the tattoo sleeves they put on me, were actually the sleeves that Steve, one of the Navy SEAL consultants, rocks. So they put that as a nod to him on my character, which is pretty cool.
Steve, and then there was one other guy.
Mitch.
Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch.
Tell me about the process of working with them.
Yeah, ex-Navy SEALs, and now they consulted on this game with us, with the writers, with everybody. Super heavily involved, on set every day with us. Amazing guys, incredibly knowledgeable. God knows how experienced as ex-Navy SEALs at the highest level. So they were great to work with, and they were there making sure we got it right. And what's so cool about this game is as you play, you know, Farah, and you are, you know, kind of doing these missions, you have to use what you have, right? So, like, I mean, look at this, you know, you're just kind of jimmy rigging this thing together.
I love the idea that you take like a muffler out of a car and it's got the perfect thread to fit.
Yeah, is it an oil filter or something? Yeah. And so this is, you know, Mitch and Steve are really cool because they were like, look, Farah and Hardir are not going to fight like a CIA guy. They're not going to fight like British SAS. They're going to fight differently. They're guerrilla fighters. So they were really cool and really drawing out the difference between it all.
That's very interesting to hear. So what's interesting here, this animation sequence, I was talking to the developers about, that's a full mocap animation of shoulder slamming a guy in, and that happens a couple times during the game, but you can interrupt it at any point with your gun, and they said it was really, really difficult to get that right.
Yeah.
Hold on. Stay away from the door.
So I have this knife. There we go.
Do you have a shot?
I guess that's the fine line you walk, right? Letting the players explore the open world, but then also keeping them on point to actually do the missions and continue the story, right? So we filmed a lot of stuff that made things perhaps more difficult for players to wander, you know, by blocking a door with a character, or nagging the way she just nagged me to pick up the knife. You can't continue unless you pick up the knife, right? So we recorded all these nags, which are like 5 different versions of like, do this thing so we can proceed. And we call them nags, which were a lot of fun, a lot of fun to do. We had a lot of running jokes about the nags we've been throwing at each other.
So this is kind of a gruesome scene of Russian occupation.
She's just scared. Stand down.
Um,
Do you understand why we do this?
these are interesting because you have full agency as the player to either look or not look or kind of do whatever you want. And to your point, I wonder how much of the work goes unseen in the average playthrough. And the answer is probably a lot, but I think it kind of makes it more special in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do?
Accomplish our mission.
So now Alex is seeing firsthand that this is a human rights violation. This is war crimes. This is everything, and he's getting this first look at this. Whereas they've lived their whole lives like this, you know.
Here's a great example. Like, how much effort do you think went into this room? And this room is literally just bypassed. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna go up this line.
Every single detail. It's incredible.
Barkov is sending in helicopters. We take them out. Forces from the base will come running.
So, in the same vein of kind of recording nags, something about the process, something that's always fascinated me about video game voice acting is so much of the sound that you hear from the player character is getting hurt.
Yeah.
So, were they just prodding you with the cattle prod and like poking you with knives? Like, how did they kind of evoke those reactions?
You know, what's funny is, you know, we did all the mocap performance work, and then we, of course, had to go and record thousands of lines of voiceover because as a player, you can encounter so many different things, right? You can die, you can get blown up, you could, you know, drop a grenade in your own lap, you know?
Right.
And so you have to record those things, the efforts, the grunts when you're in pain. And I remember a spreadsheet of voiceover lines coming up that I'd read off a monitor. And they were like, okay, give me 5 different versions of dying by fire. Like
my
5
God,
different
dude.
versions of like you death by explosion. And, and so we had to do all these things.
What,
and
a,
I'm like,
what a trip.
yeah, so, you know, me and Taylor, you know, the director, who, you know, we were always trying to figure out something that was unique and different to fire as opposed to unique and different to a grenade death. But death by gas was a fun one.
Oh,
Just
God.
like asphyxiating and coughing. That required some tea and some water after that one, but
yeah,
anything could happen. Right? So you have to have it covered. The actors have to have it covered, depending on what the players get up to.
I was listening to an interview with Andy Serkis, who I think is kind of a legend in the motion capture space.
Yeah, set the bar high for the beginning.
And just a phenomenal actor in general.
Unbelievably.
And yeah, he said he had this mixture of ginger and honey and water while he was doing all the Gollum stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how much work in terms of lines spoken, in terms of hours spent, because you've obviously worked on film and you've worked on television. How many more or fewer hours are involved in recording something like this?
Well, in terms of what the developers do, I mean, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You know, over 3 years, you know, the 6 months leading up to the game, you know, working 6-day weeks, you know, 60 hours, 70 hours a week, whatever it takes, right, to cross the finish line. But for the actors, I gotta be honest, it was one of the sweeter gigs we had. We're in an air-conditioned kind of sound stage, and you know, we worked maybe an 8-hour day if the day went long. So it was actually not too bad. I mean, obviously you do the preparation, you come in, but then it's really easy to turn this stuff around because the slow process of TV and film making is setups. You have 2 cameras, setups, new lighting, setups, over and over and over. It'll take you hours to do a 2-3-page scene. With this, these guys do all the prep work in advance. The actors show up. You're covered from 50 different cameras all around the stage. And you do 7 to 8 takes, whatever everybody's happy with, and then you move on to the next scene.
That sounds great.
So it's efficient for the actors. A hell of a lot of work for the developers
obviously years.
to set all that sort of stuff up. But it was a pretty sweet gig.
And then I think what's interesting is the concept of somebody augmenting your performance after the fact, that you kind of set this baseline and then it's interpreted, and obviously things like voice lines go in one-to-one, but things like your facial animation are kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah.
It's kind of a collaborative effort. In that
Yeah.
part. It's pretty
I mean, we started off doing photogrammetry, and they put you in a ball of light sphere with 85 cameras, and they shoot you from every single possible angle, doing everything. A's, E's, I's, O's, smiles, you know, one eye closed, one eye open. I mean, there was 115, 120 different expressions we had to make, and they locked that all into the program.
Wow.
So you get to see a lot of that stuff here.
Is that like getting like your teeth scanned at the dentist? It's kind of like this weird...
They scanned our teeth as well for accuracy.
Strange.
Yeah. I mean, the level of attention to detail is unbelievable in this game.
That it is. And you know, I think like my experience with the campaign was everything was very, very smooth in terms of it just felt like people went over and over and over about this, and what if a player did this here, and what if a player did that there.
Right.
All right, so now we are going to, I guess we have to go over to a scenic location, and we're gonna detonate.
Ooh, big bang.
Big bang.
I love this mission because it shows you that warfare is not all about just shooting hostiles, right? You've got to sneak around, you've got to be stealthy, you've got to blend in. This is Alex's calling card. You know, he is got the head wrap on and he is trying to fit in, not draw attention until you get to the point where that blunt force trauma is needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it's kind of like destabilization and doing a lot with a little, which makes for a really interesting game, I think, in terms of just the player's perspective.
And modern warfare isn't trench warfare anymore. This is not World War II. You know, it's stuff like this. It's clandestine operations. It's very morally gray and ambiguous at times, and you know we're getting that on full display early on in the game, which is great.
For when they return.
How generous of you.
A shame to miss the show, but we have to get on with our attacks before it's too late.
Yeah, playing through this for the first time was a huge treat. And honestly, I'm more of a multiplayer guy, just not even in a Call of Duty standpoint, but just in a video game standpoint.
Sure.
I always think that the stories you tell with your friends, to me, the stories you create together are so much more interesting than the stories told to you. But with that said, when I am being told the story, I appreciate brevity and quality.
Yeah.
And I think those are the two things that are you kind of have in spades in this, where it doesn't overstay its welcome. Like every level has a unique gameplay hook.
Yeah.
And also tells an interesting story narratively. It makes you think. So.
Yeah, I know it's easy to just go in the multiplayer and just kind of tag them up, right?
Yeah.
But this is just gives you the perspective behind it all.
So this is, to me, kind of felt a little bit like an allusion to a very famous mission from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, called All Gillied Up.
All Gillied Up. Captain Price.
But there's a little bit of a grim change here, which is you're pretending to be a corpse.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of, again, speaks to that running theme that we see throughout.
That's interesting, right? You're just pretending to be a corpse and soldiers just walking by like just another Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh,
Brutal.
I'm set. Shoot the left two.
Very cool how seamless all these transitions are in terms of like that motion capture that obviously maybe took a couple takes and there was an amount of training that went into that, and it just kind of, again, you can look at it, not look at it, and that's, to me, part of the allure of something like this is like, it's almost like a four-leaf clover. It's kind of special because you're not forced to find it. It's not ubiquitous and everywhere. So were you present for reads like this, where there are kind of large sections where you're unaudible and then pop up every now and again?
You mean in terms of the voiceovers?
Yeah, in terms of like, in terms of working with Farah.
Oh yeah. Well, the bulk of our work as actors was doing the cutscenes, the mission openings, stuff like this. You know, the ways we would play together, like this. We filmed this. Right.
Now let's take Barkov's airbase so their deaths are not in vain.
We're in for a hell of a fight.
So are they. Hadir has a plan.
Yeah, but a lot of stunt performers would do the ducks and the rolls and the dives and whatever all throughout the other parts of the game.
You are in my house now, Alex. I set up on the edge of Barkov's base. Keep those fucking dogs in check. Friends close, enemies closer. I told you we have our ways. No grenades, so we improvise.
Not bad.
Think we fight this war with sticks and stones?
This is kind of a great introduction to Hadir,
understand violence,
who
so I show them violence. Barkov has an air force.
I'm trying not to interrupt. You start to see the qualities and you think maybe this guy is just a side character, but then you realize he's plucky, he's a rebel.
He's intense.
Yeah, he's intense. I love this mission. This mission, to me, feels like Star Wars, kind of the best moments in Star Wars where the people are just taking what they have and fighting oppression with it.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is almost like kind of an X-Wings in the Death Star.
Like he says, you know, we don't have missiles, so we improvise. They make their own bombs and they put them on drones and fly them in.
Let's get down.
Playing as Alex in situations like this is very, very different for me to playing as Kyle, because this feels like this incredibly experienced guy assisting these folks and just kind of accomplishing something very noble. There's an amount of passion behind it. Did kind of working with Taylor did he give you notes like that? Did he set these scenes up?
Yeah, you know,
kind of kept in the dark a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we sat down here that in a lot of we're kind of on a need-to-know basis. You know, we auditioned for this not knowing it was Call of Duty, and we didn't really know it was Call of Duty until we were literally on set. And you could put some context clues together, but they weren't just going to come out and tell you. It's an NDA, highly classified game, as you can imagine. So, but yeah, he wanted to impress upon, this is what Alex does. You know, he comes in and he finds who the allies are, and he embeds himself with them. So obviously, and he wants to show them that he's on their side, right? But he's also, Farah and Hadir they're amazing fighters for an amazing cause. So, you know, you start to take this journey with Alex, and he becomes, you know, sort of one of them as you go. But yeah, that was very important to getting that right with me and Farah and Hadir.
So what is the process of kind of auditioning for video game roles? Is there kind of a hierarchy for you where I would prefer X, Y, or Z? Or are you just psyched to see something that is kind of like higher profile and people are excited about?
I mean, I'm super pumped. I've been a gamer my whole life, so to have a role like this and arguably the most popular first-person shooter franchise on the planet or of all times, it was a dream come true for me. But, you know, the audition process, it's interesting, man, because it used to be like the old Modern Warfare games and video games of the past would be you'd hire stunt actors to do the stuff like this, and then you'd have voiceover actors just come in and give that life to the character. These days, with these graphics and the way that it's intense and that technology just exponentially grows every year, there's a real premium on having television and film actors come in because it's everything. It's motion capture, it's performance capture, it's voice. It's all being done at once now. So I think that's why you see, you know, Claudia and Barry and Elliot and Aiden, they're all accomplished actors in their own right, but they needed to have them for this video game to really create these characters. And so the audition process was quite fun. I mean, I thought I was going into a casting office, but they sent me right to the soundstage to work with Taylor and a writer, Brian Bloom, who's an accomplished voice actor and theatrical actor himself. And we did a couple of scenes. You know, Brian put me in a nice little chokehold for one of the scenes. It was that interrogation scene when he first meets Farah and Hadir. You know, we shot a version of that scene in the audition where, you know, they drag me in around my neck, you know, put me down, like, who is this guy kind of thing. So it was a great experience. I love those two from the start. And, you know, they fought for me to get this role, and I'm so grateful for them that it all worked out because it's one of the best acting experiences I've ever had.
That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, amazing guys, amazing team all around.
How long, just ballparking it, like how long is the process of going in and shooting these in terms of like, are we talking like a 3-month span, a 6-month span, multiple years? How long were you showing up for the soundstage?
On average, we were called in maybe 3 to 5 days a month for the past, you know, year and a quarter.
Wow.
Yeah. So it takes time. You know, the animators got to render the world, set up the environments. You know, the writers keep tweaking and everything else, and then we go in there and they show us kind of a crude visualization, a previs it's called, of the environment we'll be playing in, and then we perform the scenes, you know, on the stage with, you know, like I said before, PVC piping rigs that are doubling as a Humvee or a chopper or whatever else. And yeah, so that's kind of the process. So many animators need to get their hands into the clay, so to speak, before the actors get to show up and do the acting thing on it.
So for films like Zero Dark 30, Sicario, you see these kind of behind-the-scenes videos of the amount of physical training and working with professionals. Oh, I'm totally gonna die here.
No.
100%. Man, this is all going so well. Was there a similar amount of training? Was there kind of a grace period where you were just worrying about, here's how to kind of mantle an obstacle, here's how to clear a room, here's how to kind of turn a corner properly? Or was that, folks were just advising you as you were doing it actively?
Yeah, you know, as the actors, we were mostly responsible for, you know, the cutscenes and the stuff like that. I know, like I was saying before, there's an entire amazing group of mocap actors and stunt actors who come in and do that, like the fall.
I literally just, it just clicked for me in my mind that like, your face could be put on somebody else's performance of their body. God, that's kind of kind of screws with your mind.
You know, but the kneeling and the stuff like this, you know, whatever else, whenever you get to see that stuff, a lot of really talented, highly trained stunt performers come in. Mark Morrisseau, there's a bunch out there who worked on this game, and they all deserve as much credit as we do. Because, yeah, they're the guys flopping around, throwing themselves around the stage. Obviously, like a cutscene, if it involves some sort of physical activity or whatever, we do that. But in terms of all the many ways you can fall or jump or kneel or get prone or die, those guys are doing all that heavy lifting for us.
That's really interesting. I mean, it does seem like exciting because it's kind of rapidly advancing in a way. And
nice.
Yeah, this is a very fun mission. Yeah, I think to your point, I mean, Call of Duty historically there's been some very big names involved in that from an acting sense, but it's I think a medium that people, and maybe this is just, I mean, I think so many people would be so thrilled to work on a project like this, but I think initially folks were like, video game acting, whatever. But now it's like, dude, it's such a real deal.
You know, and it's funny, I just had a conversation, with some people about this too. The television and film industry is they don't recognize this as high-level acting. And I know what we've shot, and I'm like, don't take my word for it, watch it when it comes out. Like, this is high-level acting. This is really, it's a playable Zero Dark 30. It's a playable Sicario. You get 6 hours of this that you get to play through. But it's no less dramatic. The graphics are no less unreal. The story is no less intense, So hopefully the television and film industry recognizes the work that video game actors do, especially in that performance capture and voiceover space. Really, that character is 110% them. And, but people are slow to catch up.
Yeah,
this is
for sure.
The stuff that's going on in the video game industry, it can't be ignored. I mean, it's incredible across the board.
Especially in terms of revenue. I mean, I just think it's like pretty massive. Is that a little bit frustrating for you? Like, you have friends, you're like, hey, there's this literally massive, internationally marketed video game, AAA video game coming out, and I'm the protagonist in it. They're like, oh, that's cool.
Actually, most of when it comes to the
different?
video game stuff, but my friends are literally the opposite.
Oh, that's
people have been really kind and supportive the entire time since it was announced this summer that I was in this game. So, I mean, they've all pre-ordered it. They're all playing it now, or last night, or from last night till now. So it's been cool. There's just something about video games, man, and that was the feeling on the set with the other actors. I mean, we've all done pretty well on TV and film, but on set, the actors were like kids at a candy store, man. It was a whole new level of excitement for us, just because we grew up through the 80s and 90s. We grew up playing video games. To be immortalized in a game like this was just a whole brand new giddy experience for everyone. So.
Oh man. Oh, that's what I have to do. Okay.
Focus for a minute.
Yeah, sometimes. There we go.
Pea shooter ain't gonna work. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's very exciting, and I think that I've had this conversation with I have a friend named Sean who now works at 100 Thieves, and we both love games. We play every night, and we both love film, and we end up talking a lot about film while we're playing games. Funny enough, but I think we were just discussing the concept of telling a story in a video game and how I think that this is a really good example of what I would call conventional storytelling. This is like you take elements of film and elements of kind of linear conventional storytelling and put them in this interactive, high-fidelity experience.
Right.
But then I think a lot of really, really cool stories are told through gameplay. And there's an example of that a little bit later on. Okay, a good example on this level. The first time I played this level, I was just really kind of on my toes. I accidentally shot one or two friendlies.
Yeah.
And that was an example of emergent storytelling where I was like, I felt bad about that. And I was like, well, I just got to keep going on. Like, there's no other option.
Right. Another thing about the storytelling and what we're doing here, and it's all the more relevant now. Not that I want to get into politics or anything, but I think there were articles circulating about the Kurdish female fighters, and that's very much a real thing. And I think a lot of inspiration for Farah's character was drawn from that, way before it got to be, kind of the mess thing where things stand now. That's just the crazy thing about this landscape.
I was talking to Taylor about that, and this, when I went down to the review event, there are, without getting into spoilers, there are parallels that seem prophetically timed.
Yeah.
in terms of the plot and kind of how your superiors view these people that you are kind of brothers and sisters with. Yeah, and I actually think, again, we talked about this a little bit off camera, but I think that kind of subject matter is important, if for no other reason than it embeds it in the public consciousness and gets people thinking about it. And maybe gives them a way to kind of like vicariously experience it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about a young audience. I mean, are they going to go read the Washington Post? Are they going to read the New York Times? They're not. Will they play this? They will.
Yeah.
So it is. Obviously, this game wasn't made to be an educational tool, but I think there's peripheral side effects that could be, good in a way, despite its intensity and despite somehow how brutal it can be sometimes. But
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think that I remember talking to Joel at E3 in an interview, and he was saying, if Modern Warfare, the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is kind of true lies. It's this big, bombastic action, explosion, spectacle. This is more Sicario. This is more nuanced, understated, but really tense, a little bit myopic. And to me, that is so much more interesting in terms of subject material. But one thing that I think is cool about just the concept of portraying a character in a video game is like the way that Hadir is acting right now. So we have Hadir and Farah here, and when I was doing missions with Captain Price, from a functionality standpoint, you can't have the AI run the show, right? They can't just carry you through the mission, but they kind of have to be badass at the same time. And so that's kind of cool that there's this other level of association beyond just the facial expression performance and physical performance of how good are they?
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
No, they handle their own.
Absolutely. I mean, look, they're pushing up on their own, which is very cool. And I think that even without necessarily understanding or understanding that it's happening, I think a lot of players are kind of judging the way they view that character based upon how they're functioning.
Right.
I don't think I can go in here. Yeah.
So those little moments that we film too, face to face, boom. So here's Molotov coming in handy.
No!
Oh, what have you done?
I burned him.
What have you done?
Sorry, dear. All right, we'll be a little bit more tactical.
Jeez.
We good? Whew. No. That's one of my favorite moves. This move. It's the 180 whip with the mouse. It's a mouse and keyboard exclusive. So that friendly fire thing, it's a screen that I only got once on my initial playthrough, and I think it's interesting because you don't I think kind of a central theme in this game is there are parts like in Piccadilly where you can accidentally hit a civilian unintentionally and it won't fail you. And I think that is a little bit part of the storytelling.
Right.
What is happening with this door? There we go. Oh, God. When you see red, you're just like, ah. All right. I chose to not opt for the grenade launcher. Do you have, this might be getting into spoiler territory, but do you have a particular favorite scene? Have we seen it yet?
There is one that I loved. I loved making, I loved filming. It's me and Farah. It's a little too early for it.
Yep.
But I know it was also a favorite from what I've heard of the studio and the developers as well. So, and I think audiences will know when they see it.
Great. I think I know what you're talking about. So we were changing perspective to an attack chopper, and this is, again, kind of speaking to Alex's usefulness, is he's not just this incredibly experienced soldier with a level head, he's also obviously very well connected, right, because he's part of the CIA. And so this is something that, these rebels would be unable to muster on their own. and this kind of turns the tide of this battle. But I think it's funny when you call in in multiplayer, when you call in a chopper gunner like this, you pull up kind of an iPad. I think these are friendlies, right? No. Well, here's another ethical decision. You can get after him or not. And I chose to get after him. And this is kind of...
You made the right call.
Maybe.
In that instance.
Maybe. You know, I think it depends on your own personal ethics.
Right.
And that's, again, that's pretty interesting.
Good. Victory.
So you do kill Russians?
Only the bad ones.
Today was a great victory for Urzikstan. Thank you.
We make a good team.
Yes, we've bought time. But Barkov will retaliate.
So will we.
Alex and Commander Karim's forces have destroyed General Barkov's forward operations base, temporarily limiting Russian air capability in Urzikstan. We need to move fast. Sergeant Garrick, thanks to your intel, we tracked the Al-Qatala cell responsible for the Piccadilly attack to a townhouse in North London. 3 SAS teams will get inside and connect the dots. If the Wolf is in possession of the stolen Russian gas in Urzikstan, we need to find him. Be advised, there may be non-combatants on target. Check your shots.
Have you seen this mission?
Targets are up, boys. Let's kick this off.
Oh boy. You're in for a wild ride.
I've heard a lot about it. I've read a lot about it.
My favorite mission.
I won't take offense to that.
I spoke with Taylor and just the amount of they built a set specifically for this and kind of I think they were working with the military consultants and when they were talking about their process of what they do, they had the inception of this idea for this mission and it took them 3 years to make it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the highlights of the game for sure.
Yeah. The amount of motion capture work kind of all over the place. I wonder if this is like those two consultants just kind of repeated in different roles, or if, from your experience, were there kind of like multiple folks on set at once, like more than 5?
You mean in terms of capturing the other characters?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were done on completely different days than ours usually, and I'm sure the SEAL consultants were there. Obviously, making sure they got it right.
You know I do. But this operation failed, so...
Secure.
Alpha Bree. Entering through the front door.
That's the amazing thing about these games is you can have one motion capture actor, do a fall or a side roll or whatever else, and you can plug that into the game wherever you want on any character. The millions of, extras that are running around, civilians, dead soldiers.
Yeah.
And that's a new feature of the game too. I was reading about is being able to shoot through walls.
Yeah.
And doors.
We'll see that a little bit later on.
Shot.
2 X-rays down.
Copy. Secure.
There it is.
Yeah, I think that from a gameplay standpoint, this level,
Secure the floor.
every level shows a new mechanical challenge, like shooting through a wall there, and I think there's also kind of a morality challenge on every level. And that's
this is so
super interesting.
Claustrophobic, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're fighting in a phone booth,
Yeah.
so to speak. It's nuts.
Bravo 6, moving to the second floor.
By the way, I just want to say I'm incredibly impressed that you're able to play this game and have a conversation with me. I would still be on.
I appreciate that.
I wouldn't hit the first checkpoint of the first mission if I was tasked with doing this.
Outside the door!
Now. All right, let's do one of these. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do at all. Oh no. Well, that's interesting.
Now you're playing in my world.
Yeah,
dropping the flashbang on my foot.
That's so interesting. I totally butchered this particular segment, but it's still like tense in an interesting way.
It's kind of interesting to see it get more chaotic because it's supposed to be contained and clandestine, right? But now it's turning into a bit of mess.
Good. I kind of wanted to play that again anyway. I have to figure out
a lot
what
of
my
busted
melee is.
plaster.
Ah, my melee's bound to V. That's right.
Oh, the knife?
Yeah. So I had a plan here. It did not play out the way I wanted it to. That was I hit a key that was. You'll see. It's all gonna go very smoothly right now. There we go.
Bedroom clear.
Night and day. Difference between those. Yeah. All right. Now we got a wounded guy here.
Private Townsend. Check the door.
Oh, I gotta clear this. Clear?
Floor secure.
Okay. Gotta check all the points. I love that there are these vocal performances going on behind the wall that actually give you some context clues about what you're going to be dealing with.
Take your shots.
Hands up, now!
Secure him. Suck the kid up. Secure.
Last floor. Take point, Sergeant.
That was arguably maybe not a good call because I shot him before he had a weapon. He ended up having a weapon, but...
Locked.
Try and take him alive.
Captain Price and his crowbar, man. The heroes of this game.
Down, get down, get down!
Don't shoot! Don't shoot, please! They were going to kill me! They locked me in here!
Drop her.
Clear.
Price makes the call.
Yep.
All teams, townhouse secure. Commence SSE.
Oh, fucking hell. She was going for a bloody detonator.
Good job we dropped it in.
We made the right call, sir.
We'll bet your ass. We've got a location on the wolf.
The attic of the Al-Qatala townhouse was a gold mine. Looks like we found the wolf. Communications from the laptop were tracked to Ramaza Hospital in Urzikstan, where the Al-Qatala leader is believed to be holed up. Farah's forces will track terror activity at the hospital, while a Marine ground force can be mobilized to advance on the complex. Echo 3-1 will capture the wolf for interrogation about the stolen
Grow a
Russian
mustache
gas.
like that?
I cannot. Not even close. This is a nice scene, too.
ماشي خبي نعرف شو بصير. My soldiers confirm that the hospital is under siege. Al-Qatala has taken civilians as human shields. They're protecting someone.
Or something.
Tomorrow we find out.
All clear, sister.
Hadir is my best sniper. You can rely on him. And all my fighters.
Marines want their pound of flesh. They're leading the charge on this.
I told you we would help you.
And you're keeping your word?
I don't do this to keep my word. The invaders of my country have no regard for human life. The gas kills all things, even food and our gardens. If you use these tactics, you are my enemy.
No exceptions?
None. Al-Qatala has given my people a bad name, and we have paid dearly for their crimes. I want to see the wolf punished.
I'll make sure you're at the embassy for the handoff to Price.
And you? Where will you go when this is over?
Wherever they send me.
You don't choose.
Not exactly.
Rest up. Tomorrow's a big day.
What about you and your men?
We'll be here until sunrise.
I'll cover the open corner.
Just notice that sunset effect.
Very cool. Playing this a second time, I realized there's merit to going back through. You know, like when you watch The Prestige the first time and you watch The Prestige the second time, it's a totally different experience.
Right.
Yeah, similar thing there a little bit, where it's like,
Sergeant Griggs, all day. Call me Alex. No locals on this one. Not my call. You Kareem?
All day.
Nice work hitting the Russians.
We share friends and enemies.
Pitfali. Вышивак,
Roll, Alex. Demon Dog, time to take this shit to the fan. You'll find this a target-rich environment.
Alex is like,
Watch the windows.
I knew it was shitty here, but from what you're telling me,
yeah,
you can tell he's starting to get a bit attached.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
He's been boots on the ground with Farah and Hadir, and he's just seeing the atrocities. This is perhaps becoming a bit more personal for him now.
And then I think we have this kind of break from that, developing of that relationship for a super conventional Call of Duty mission that I like a lot. I mean, it's just kind of like you're rolling out in the Marines, you know, it's just going to be a big firefight.
Right.
Smoking flanks, up the high side. Up the smoke. Move. Push off.
I think historically a good Call of Duty campaign also kind of prepares you for the multiplayer. And I think that's what, you know, you're learning lessons about using your tactical, whether it be a flashbang or a smoke grenade. I use a lot of smokes in multiplayer. They're actually, I think, very, very clutch. And yeah, this kind of shows you that like they're a pretty essential mechanic, even though it's not something as straightforward as a gun.
Right.
That has this immediate effect. Oh boy. I'm gonna get some cover here. Try this again. Out of smoke grenades. Oh, what's up? I think there's a guy I can get smoke grenades from. Oh well.
This feels almost like a multiplayer.
Yeah.
You know,
this
feels like a Battlefield. Really, it's 360.
This one is very shock and awe. Are you? Oh, I thought. Oh, see, there's.
I thought he was a friendly.
I really did. I don't know why. That's interesting. I've had the opposite experience where I'm like, oh, you're my enemy, and then I shoot you and I feel really bad.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I've had that experience that I'm a little bit reluctant to be like, oh, hey, what's up, man?
Well, it's good. The game's making you think, right? But you imagine what these soldiers go through, having to make that snap judgment call.
I can't even begin.
You know, there's no uniforms over there. It's everything is subjective.
All right, I really need to find these smoke grenades. Just hold up behind a mattress for a hot second. Maybe I'll just thin the herd a little bit up here for a minute, and then we'll. There we go. Just take some from his backpack. That's cool. So what is the, in terms of like, you know, I imagine as an actor, at some point you're pretty anxious to like see the final product. Is waiting for a video game a longer delay, so to speak, or does it kind of vary from project to project than a film?
Man, I had a film released this summer. It took 3 years.
Jeez.
But I was able to see cuts before it was released, of course. But yeah, this all turned around pretty quickly. I mean, we started seeing the first kind of gameplay trailer drop at the end of May, just before E3 there, I believe. Or maybe it was just after. So that's kind of our first look at it, but we were still doing voiceover work for the game at that point. From what I understand, these developers, right up until game day release and all the way through the release, you know, they don't stop. It's not like pencils down. Yeah. It's just kind of like they have deadlines, and then they have to do the patchwork and everything else that
and it kind
will
of
always need to be done. It never stops, really. So they don't get to sit down and pop the champagne. They're working hard to keep this thing up to speed for everybody across the world.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Behind scope.
Whoop. Are there times when you're not in a mocap suit and you're just doing voice work for like kind of that getting hurt stuff, or is that all on the soundstage?
Yeah, we'd always go to the soundstage, and when the motion capture, performance capture stuff was all done, we had shot all of our scenes and done all the work there. You know, we would come back for a bunch of sessions, and you know, like I said, they just pulled these big spreadsheets on a big TV, and we'd be mic'd up, and we would just go through, you know, each mission, every possible line that could be said. We would go through and just knock those out to the tune of 1,000, 2,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had a bunch of different sessions for that.
Jeez.
Every actor did, yeah. Because so much, as you're hearing, is the battle chatter.
Right.
You know, demon dogs go, you know, this, that, whatever else. It's like, he's got a grenade, you know, all these sort of things all have to be covered to infuse that chaos, that life into these. Like you said, even civilians or the terrorists talking behind those closed doors. That's all in there to give you that more dynamic experience.
I wrote a little piece yesterday just talking about kind of the visual fidelity, and the motion capture is a huge part of that. But that scene that we just saw, the final room of Clean House, where you go up and there's an unarmed woman and you're not really sure how to proceed. You know, it's that performance. It's her kind of erratic, ill-intentioned body language. It's her facial expressions. It's her darting eyes. Those are the context clues you have. And obviously with the order from Captain Price, but like,
right.
So I think that, you know, I don't know that there have been a lot of video games where you have to kind of make, maybe like LA Noire, but you have to make a call based on that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And
yeah, just the subtle way she was backing towards the table. It wasn't like she was backing away from the guns. It was like she was actually trying to get somewhere. It's very subtle, right?
Right.
But you have to make that call.
I also love that, like, some very early video games, you know, you have voice lines, oh boy, recorded by developers or friends and family, because like that was the at that point, like, it just was an afterthought.
Right.
It was just like, okay, and now we have sound stages and motion capture, and it's definitely evolved.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, this is IGN Plays Live, brought to you by Midway, in theaters November 8th. I'm here with Chad Michael Collins, the voice actor who portrays the character we're playing right now, Alex Echo 31. And I gotta ask you, do you think that being in something this high profile is like, I mean, we talked a little bit about kind of the delineation between film and television and that world. Do you think that folks are kind of getting up to speed in terms of executives and decision makers with kind of casting, that they're like, oh, this guy was the main character in Call of Duty? This is, you know, do you think that's a valuable accolade to have for you personally?
I mean, we'll see. Let me check my phone. Oh, the head of Warner Brothers Studios has not called yet. It's strange. Well, I hope so. You know, I really do, especially with a game like this, where such a premium was put on realism.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not like I spent a year on a video game where I played a Minotaur, right?
Yeah.
The character looks like me.
I would like to see that, though.
Yeah,
I'd bring it up.
It'd be kind of fun. I know a lot of actors who do get on the stilts and stuff like that for those fantasy games. It's
cool.
quite fun. But yeah, you would think it'd be usable, it'd be leverageable. The character looks like me. We're doing really high level, high stakes acting, a lot of emotional drama, especially in the cutscenes here. So, you know, you would hope it translates, you know, and I just, you don't know, you never know. You know, it's such a subjective world that actors play in. It says you think things would make sense, but sometimes you find that for an industry completely geared around creativity and imagination, there is a glaring lack of it. So,
that's so interesting.
so, you know, if nothing else, I hope that, you know, one of the casting executives has a son that plays. And it's like, that's just the cool nod that kind of gets me in there to let me do my thing. If nothing else, I'll take it, you know? The funny thing about actors is you come off a game like this, the game just drops, and people are like, oh my God, you're doing so well, congratulations, you're killing it. And we're like, yeah, I'm also looking for a job. You know, it's just you're on to the next.
Oh.
Wow.
Damn it. So I didn't take that shot because there was a civilian in the way, but me not taking that shot ended up killing the civilian kind of indirectly. Oh, there's an example. I just killed the civilian behind that guy. Damn.
Well, you're right. It does feel bad.
It does. It's like, eh. And they also, there's some like audio cues. There's one of my favorite moments, and I don't really think this is a spoiler, where you're in a very high stakes, high tension situation, and there've just been these trucks unloading troops driving at you. And then this Sudan just starts driving at you, and you're kind of sniping it, and there's nothing else going on, and you're like, what is this thing? And I just kind of started shooting at it. And Captain Price, instead of being like, hold your fire, that's a civilian, because it ended up being a civilian, he was like, did you see a weapon? What was that?
Right.
You know, and I think that was like, oh man, the onus was totally on me.
Yeah.
Maybe I made the wrong call there. I'm not going to say you're on like the bleeding edge of, because I really think that like, you know, the Nolan North and there's so many examples of actors who've made a career entirely out of this, but I still do think this is kind of in the infancy of how serious this medium is.
Yeah.
In terms of storytelling, and I think people are finally kind of picking up what folks have been putting down for years in terms of this art.
No, it's incredible, and you know, there's recognition. You know, the trailers that have been dropped, all the looks and the exclusives that have been kind of teased and dropped all along the way. It's like people admit, like, that's an unbelievably looking game. Like, but the part that they're not seeing is like you say, playing through that interactive story and seeing their performances in that way. So, you know, I'm not shy about forwarding IGN playthrough links.
Nice.
Like, just
Perfect.
take a look. Take a look at what we kind of did here.
Do our best to make sure we make it look the best you can.
But, you know, with games like this and so many others moving the needle forward, it's like, you know, this is an industry and a medium that can't be ignored.
Absolutely.
It really is. It's just the best of all things in a lot of ways.
And I think this is actually like, in terms of using this as, oh, this is a weird scene. So basically, you're just checking.
Make sure there's no hide.
Yeah.
Demon 3, 1-2, what's your status?
Yeesh. There it is.
I think this, you have it easy in the sense of using this as like reference material because it does look that realistic, and I think that's an easier sell where it's like, wow, that's your face, that's your facial articulation.
Right.
But I'm definitely of the opinion that like realism doesn't matter in terms of telling a story. Obviously, honest with Call of Duty and like realistic looking graphics are very important and work for the genre, but there have been some phenomenal video game stories that I've experienced where it's entirely stylized and it's essentially a cartoon.
Yeah. But no less powerful.
For sure. That's the beautiful thing about this medium is I really think it's like, I mean, it's not entirely cemented in its ways yet. And hopefully never will be.
Right.
Huck some nades here.
Yeah, excellent aim with those. My aim is terrible.
Years of losing. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Oh, man.
You gonna need one of these?
Oh, I'm fine.
Cough drops?
No, I'm all good. I went to a Renaissance fair last weekend, Had a little bit too much stout. And there was this amazing band that was like kind of an EDM band, but they play a didgeridoo and a bagpipe, and I just got, I'm gonna die in the same spot. That's the worst. All right, let's get a trash in the chat. Thanks, folks. I need some negative reinforcement here. Earlier I was reading the chat, and they were just, they were getting fun with it, and they were saying like, I am trash, we are trash. Like that, like, you know, like they're just having a good time. It's like an insult comic who gets everybody in the room. It's not very, it's kind of fun at some point. All right, so let's, I don't have any smoke. All right, we're gonna run the same play, but this time, this dude. I think kind of taking the medium in the opposite direction, because there have been a lot of games with phenomenal stories and phenomenal acting, but in terms of video game movies, they have a pretty poor reputation. And I think like the one that I saw that I was like, all right, this is maybe objectively the first pretty decent video game movie was Detective Pikachu.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
It's fun. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's not.
It's an interesting. It's an interesting animal, isn't it? Because
really is.
you know, people who are gamers. I mean, if you're playing something like this, like, is a movie really going to cut it? Even if it's the same characters and the same story. I mean, this is as real and as crazy as it gets. So you can certainly make a great movie out of the subject matter, but when you kind of have this version, it almost seems like a step down at a certain point.
I definitely agree with that, and I also think that like your performance has connotations in regards to the gameplay, the decision making, the kind of emergent player-controlled storytelling. And so when you take it out of that, yeah, it's got to succeed just on the merits of the narrative, and I think that's a lot harder.
Right. This is interesting. I remember filming this. So there's hostages in there, including fellow Marines.
Right.
And so we have to find a way to sneak in there and take out the bad guys without getting our brothers killed.
So this is a place where a lot of people are going to die on their first playthrough, but I actually did this my first time, and just blind luck happened to not bash it open and set this all off.
So this is the wolf. This is the man we've been hunting.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as I do that,
it's kind of how badass Alex is, though. He's like, there's 3 armed men looking at him, and he just decides
trust that my guys will come through.
Omar Suleiman, you are now in custody of the Special Operations Force. Do exactly as you're told, or you're a dead man.
Hell yeah. All demon teams, Marines are secure. Wolf is in the bag. Let's move him to the embassy.
This is one of my favorite scenes. Filming as well.
Echo is on the 3rd deck for RV. Be advised, primary entry point is clear, but that window is rapidly closing.
Roger. Hold down in 3 mics. 2-6 out.
3 minutes.
In 3 minutes, my people will be inside. They will kill all of you.
I chose to take you alive. I could still change my mind.
You have the wrong man.
Lies. Tell them what you've done.
We did not steal the gas.
Who did?
Someone very dangerous.
Where is it?
I wish I knew.
The butcher is outside. They'll burn the city if they have to.
Save yourself, daughter. Join us. Do not talk to her.
Hey, tap the brakes.
I am not your child, old man. I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no?
They're gonna breach. We gotta move now.
3-1-2-6, shots fired. Moving to secure the HVI, will advise. Copy 3-1. Bravo's on station, reposition and prep for evac.
30 seconds. Roger, 30 seconds.
There's a large group of unknowns moving on the front gate.
Alcatraz down there.
Where's his hat station? Under heavy chopper wind.
Some Indiana Jones magic happening right there.
You know that's super glued.
Cool. pretty insane moment, this.
It's a rope burn on those hands. Wow.
Oh, there's the head. Oh, Jesus, there's the head off.
This is super good.
I love that, I love that the very first thing Captain Price does is kick the rope.
Yeah.
Without even with no delay whatsoever.
There's a safe room in the basement. Head there, we'll be right behind you.
I don't know who decides that. I don't know who writes in a script. Captain Price immediately kicks the rope out of the chapter, but like whoever did that and made that decision.
It's a genius nod, right?
Yeah.
He's always knows
that's his yeah.
what's available to him, what he has to do next. Split second.
And the embassy personnel?
Agatola's here for the war. So.
Good, you're here. They need 5 minutes to finish up. What can I do to help?
Find weapons. Barricade the doors.
One of my favorite things that Barry Sloan said in his interview is the idea that if it's film and television, you know where your shot is. You know what parts of your bodies are being part of your body's being filmed. Like I've worn shorts on a live stream before, in a very, very formal capacity because it's not being filmed.
Right.
But with motion capture, you're being captured from every single direction. So did you feel that the intensity was kind of like always on and higher?
To a certain degree, yeah, because you know, you don't know which angle they're going to use ultimately, but we tried to give each scene dynamic, and sometimes it's a little shift in weight, something that indicates movement, because as you're seeing in a lot of these cutscenes, they're very wide to capture all the characters. You know, there's no close-ups necessarily that are used a lot, so having the movement, having that we're encouraged to move, like that one scene, me moving across the.
All right, man. I'm gonna empower you here. You tell me if and when we should open this door.
Me?
Yep. You tell me, man. I'll do what you say.
Yeah.
Made the right call?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So
spoilers.
Effing brutal, but that's a death wish.
For folks at home, if you open that door, it's an instant fail of the mission.
Yeah, as rough as that is.
Yeah, it is really rough. And this is, I think, pertains to the conversation we were having earlier about like,
wow.
I don't think it's completely outside of the realm of possibility that some people will think that that was just for shock value or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even if, in any capacity, I like that these ideas are being explored in a game about war. Like, to me, it's a much better alternative than the omission of sensitive subject matter. Like, and it makes you think. And like, yeah, it's effective storytelling.
Yeah, if these are desperate bad guys, they're gonna do what it takes, right? And I think that's the big difference.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah. Chaos in there. But I think that's what Farr was illustrating during one of the, the earlier cutscenes, is that, Al-Qatala, they're terrorists. And if you use chemical weapons on people in general or in our country, you are my enemy.
Right.
She wants to fight with honor. She's a freedom fighter. She wants to somehow win freedom for her people honorably. Terrorists will do whatever it takes.
Right.
And, they'll shoot a kid. Right. To bait you to come out into certain death. And you're right, that's rough, that's brutal to see, but it's not necessarily not what happens.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like it's in line with the character's motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Another really interesting dynamic here from a gameplay sense of the embassy mission, this is one of my favorite missions as well, is so much of it, like in that opening sequence, there are things happening behind glass that you can see but not affect until you're in the right spot. Captain Price with his crowbar. I appreciate that he uses his crowbar.
Yeah.
Like
Doom. Oh jeez.
Oh, there we go.
Ouch.
So at any point in that, you can shoot that guy and interrupt that, but I mean, you gotta let Price have his moment. The amount of work that went into that.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
We'll take care of it.
This is kind of a marathon of a mission, but definitely one of my favorites.
Shotgun girl.
This game trains you to check around corners at every point, and multiplayer too, I guess. But
Still fighting a good fight?
I know these guys.
Ambassador's still inside, sir. He's trapped. Okay, keep him on the line. He may be our way out of here. Adir, thanks for the assist.
Our pleasure, sir.
Umar Suleiman.
Have we met?
Yeah, back when you were on our side.
The wolf was a freedom fighter.
I still am, brother.
The Butcher's men are closing on the ambassador, Captain.
Rog. Kyle, man these cameras. Direct the ambassador to safety. We'll need his key card to open the rear doors.
You're wearing
Rest of you
jeans,
on
man.
me.
I just wanna.
Keep it casual, bro.
Mr. Ambassador, can you hear me?
I'm gonna lock the door. Stacy, hide!
Ambassador!
Get my Right down!
Shit. Captain, the ambassador is down, but I can lead his assistant to you.
Do it. We need the key card.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
This is Sergeant Kyle Garrick.
Yep.
Stacy Davidson.
Just do exactly as I say, and we'll get you safe. Take the ambassador's keycard and move to the door.
So moments like these are very contentious in games because,
That man is in the hall.
from a gameplay standpoint, you're flipping the
Go
script,
right. There's a cabinet at the end.
and I think it speaks to maybe the amount of QA testing that went into this or something, because it only took me 2 attempts my first playthrough, and I could see this is the kind of mission you get stuck on because it's just not something you're familiar
Right.
with.
That's a fucking butcher.
I don't know! Don't lie to me. The wolf is here. Tell me where.
Sergeant, are you there?
I'm just an analyst. Someone else knows. I don't have someone
There's
else.
a cart near the bookshelves. Go now.
Shit. Does not belong.
What does this remind you of?
This is not your
Hide near that body.
What, the setting?
Just this particular bit. I just feel like Morpheus from The Matrix.
Ah, yeah.
When he's like,
It's been a minute.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember people at Infinity Ward were telling us that when they were playtesting this, Stacy became kind of like one of the favorite characters. The girl you're guiding. 'Cause she's like,
This part is so
it's like
dope.
Stacy. Like people were so emotionally invested.
Yeah.
Trying to get her to safety, you know.
And they had, she's utilized a little bit later on, and I heard a little anecdote from another person who was playing about in their playthrough what happened to her, and it was different than mine, and I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And the fact that it doesn't fail you restart it, I think is really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Stacy,
Oh.
pick up the phone. Stacy. God damn it, Stacy, leave him.
Sorry, Adam.
Cool. This part's crazy.
There's this game set.
Yeah.
Don't move.
I want to go home.
We'll get you there, Stacy. You're almost out. He's gone.
Oh man, where are we going here? That seems okay.
Get to that cubicle.
You know what this reminds me of? You ever used to play Commandos?
I don't think I did.
No?
No.
Oh my god.
Down
It was
the
such a
line.
it
Next
was
one.
like a military strategy game. There was so much of this.
Hmm.
Where like Nazi soldiers would be walking across and then you would have to wait for the perfectly timed moment to be like brrr, and
Cubicle. Move.
Uh-oh. Oh no!
Stacy!
I really appreciate that it doesn't make you start this whole thing over, because that would make this
tedious.
You're almost out. He's gone.
No, you're right. It makes you
Where are you, Stacy?
involve a certain degree of patience, yeah?
I guess I'm just gonna tell her to go. I have no idea where she is, but let's
Get
just
to that
hope this is
cubicle.
okay.
There she is.
Yeah, she's sneaky.
Down the line. Next one.
And move this quick.
At the end of the game, Stacy joins Captain Price's team.
That's an unnamed
Next
operative.
cubicle. Move.
Come on. Oh! Nah, this is worse than I was doing initially. Oh boy.
Stacy did not clear the corners.
We'll get you there, Stacy. You're almost out. He's gone.
Maybe I should try employ a different strategy. Or how many people are in this room? We got this one dude patrolling. We got this guy checking desks, and this guy at the end. So I think
Get
this
to
is
that
safe.
cubicle.
There's a lot of points of articulation here that you can send her to. So
Down the line. Next one.
I gotta wait for this guy to. Oh boy. Make a left. Thank you.
Next cubicle. Move.
Yeah, go. Oh god. What's up with this guy, right?
Move to the printer.
Hide. There.
There's a guard blocking the exit. You'll have to distract him.
What do I need to do?
Get to that shredder.
Paper shredder.
Now use it. Go around the corner, hug the wall.
Woo!
Damn.
Get to the exit. Run.
Stacy Ninja or Bad Soldier? Combination of both. Oh! And he pays.
Price.
Get her out. Sergeant, we got her. Let's regroup in the
Very nice.
Well done.
Roger that, boss.
All stations this net. The embassy has fallen. Marines are setting up a rally point at the ambassador residence. This is Captain Price, SAS. We're working our way to you. Roger
So
that,
I think my favorite thing about this mission is how different the various gameplay segments are. We have this CQB element with this tense point with a kid. We have the Stacy segment, and then we have, for my money, like the most open-ended part of the entire game, where you're really just given agency to do whatever you want. What do you need? Key card? Sorry, Captain Price.
Validation.
Yeah.
This key card may save all of us.
Expect contact.
They're here.
Moving.
I could use a different weapon. Oh boy.
Oh.
Oh, it's this guy on the ground. It's like, who's shooting me? A cool part of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, if you've not played yet, is you can remain aim down sights and reload the weapon. Super handy little trick in multiplayer. Oh yeah, we're gonna take this. Big fan of the bolt action weaponry. Oh, it's got a, is this a laser? Interesting.
Reposition now.
There's the compound.
So this part, I get a little bit of a, like Assault on Precinct 13 vibes.
Didn't think you'd make it. We need a secure room to store prisoner. Yes, sir. Secure room in the residence. Follow me.
What's left to do? Stand guard. Watch him.
We will be back for him. I will be gone, brother, but we will meet again.
This is kind of like one of the few ensemble moments where you have the full cast in one place. Oh yeah, what is that?
Hey, get me something. We'll be fighting the whole bloody city.
The only drone in range needs a refuel. Can't stay out for long.
Just get it here. 06 out. Alex, Kadir, go north. Cover that roof. Kyle, Farah, you with me? Roger, Captain. Roger.
Captain, Marines have got the embassy covered if they follow. Nothing out there, sir.
They'll be back. They'll come from the other side.
How do you know?
Because I would.
She's right. Reposition across the roof. Now.
This is crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Beautiful cityscape at night. It's nuts.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite sections of this whole game. It's just very, very well done.
Scope in. I want eyes on that cafe.
Check 12, cafe. Multiple military age males.
Unarmed. Stay with them.
2 more.
Potter,
They're messengers.
looking our way. No bueno.
Track them.
On it.
So to go from kind of high octane to that guiding segment and then kind of effectively come back to hiding and trying not to be, or hoping not to be noticed and hoping that there's not going to be this massive assault, I think is a pretty impressive
Keeps you on your toes.
amount of control of the tone.
Fighters. They're here for us.
I think it would have been really easy for like you to just come out and this field just was littered with bad guys, but I think this is a little bit more effective. It kind of like gets you amped, like what's going to happen. Feels a little bit like Helm's Deep almost.
All quiet. Hang on, got movement. Midfield, 1 o'clock. Where?
Oh, there's some birds that just flew up.
Negative, just the wind.
Hold your man.
The
watching us, Captain.
Another word, and I'll send you out there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that red car's so distracting. You should blow it up for me. I keep coming back to it.
They're targeting the lights. Clear to engage?
Engage what? They're blind.
Quiet.
Eyes on the grass.
Roger, man. We'll pick them up in the light.
Illumination rounds. Light us up, Kyle.
Fire in the hole.
Got movers back in the field.
Engage! Engage!
We're in that field!
I think now that I'm like thinking about it, just the marriage of, so you have this scene that's written where, okay, there are these, it's very dark and you can't see, and then you set up this flare. There's a great amount of assumption placed on the fact that like technically you're going to be able to accomplish that. And I think that's something that's pretty interesting that you don't necessarily, I guess you get in movies in some capacity, but like just the fact that it's all going to work, right, at a script stage is pretty impressive.
Right. Give my movie character a run for his money. Working that scope.
Definitely my preferred weapon. For those at home, if you and I guess for your context as well, like whenever you go to a preview event, if it's post-launch, it means there's going to be YouTubers and influencers and people who play the game pretty religiously, and it's going to be very difficult. Pre-launch, it's like folks who have families and kids and write more than they play, and so it's generally relatively easy to kind of like show off a little bit. But yeah, I posted some gameplay that was kind of like that, and I tried to apply the same tactics to the live game now that it's in multiplayer, and I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't sit in the back and snipe. It's just like people are too good. All right, I'll switch it up here, and okay. All right, and so we kind of have a choice about that flare was probably a waste because we have a finite amount.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we're not sure if these are like civilians or.
Awfully suspicious.
Yeah.
3 trucks.
But this, you know, it tells a story about how the onus is on the good guy, and you're kind of at a disadvantage being the good guy.
Right.
Because you can't just shoot everybody you think might be a bad guy. I also love that you can kind of, oh jeez, ow. You can kind of see even without the flares. All right, so we just have to abandon that position. Wow, I'm gonna jump up on the side of the roof here.
So you're kind of like using every angle of this compound.
Yeah. There's your character just shooting off a flare kind of on his own accord, which is really cool. Again, we talked about that kind of like AI is helpful but doesn't steal the show. They kind of take the agency away from the player. I think that's a great example of like...
It's like working as a team, right?
Exactly.
Like if you go and laying down the covering fire or taking care of the hostiles with a gun, Alex goes and throws a mortar up.
Exactly. You know, and it doesn't take gameplay away from the player, but it accomplishes the same thing. I wonder if flashbang's gonna work here. Yeah, totally.
I didn't like it.
It's just an insane scene, the amount, and they're starting to kind of come through the gate here. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. No, they're already up on the roof.
Yeah, and I really like that the game doesn't necessarily give you a finite, like I just hit tab to see what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And it's a pretty vague thing. It's like fall back to cover, it's to survive.
Survive,
right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a little bit of an offensive play here. See if we can make it work. I guess. And I'm down to only 20 rounds in this gun, so I may have to just swap it for somebody else.
That's the other consideration, right? This ammo is a finite quantity in a mission like this.
Okay, let's find it, another gun. Oh, there we go.
Roger. Let's top off and gear up inside, Stay low. Do not hit this week. Sergeant, load up. Come and see me. Roger.
Nice, get a little bit of a selection and move on here. I think I'm actually finding what I got. Ooh, maybe not. There we go.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this is IGN Plays Live, presented by Midway, coming out November 8th. I'm here with Chad Michael Collins, and we have 15 minutes left. We are playing the Embassy mission. Playing alongside your character, Alex Echo 3-1, playing as Kyle. And the way the Call of Duty works, if you haven't played, is you kind of switch between perspectives. And yeah, I'll be honest, man, the first time I played through this, like, I was struck by the motion capture. I was struck by the fidelity, but I wasn't thinking about, like, how a script can turn into a scene that can turn into something that somebody has to code. And,
right.
You know, but I guess that's the beauty of it, right, is you don't really want to. All right, let's just call it in.
It's crazy. Just the lighting on that blue.
Yeah, it's
coming down on the
engine
structure.
Let's mount up. Ow.
I remember that voiceover line.
The green beam?
Target it with the green beam. I'm pretty sure I said green bean a couple of times. Target it with the green beam.
East side. Yeah. So this, so check this out. I'm just gonna do it to trigger this line. I'm not gonna aim for him, but, so you don't know what this is, and if you start taking some shots. So, here that triggers Captain Price's line. Why are you shooting? Did you see a weapon?
Right.
And it's not like, don't shoot, that's a civilian.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that it keeps it. There you go. And so that kind of makes you think like
06, Jaguar 4,
a lot of
you've got
things.
enemies inbound from the east, over.
Solid copy.
All right, let's see if I can thread the needle here.
Sergeant, use the green beam. Got a target.
Target marked. That looks like a hit. Here they come.
Get some guys over here, but I'm gonna keep it focused on the vehicles for now. Oh, whiff. Oh, no. Oh, I screwed it all up. All right, well.
That's too close. Oh, no.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it looks like
It's a squirrely one. Oh, that worked.
I guess I can call it in over here, too. Oh! Jeez.
Blew up your Ford Fiesta over there. Green one. Dude, it just never ends, huh? You're right, this is a long mission.
It is. And it's very, you know...
Freeze your nerves.
It totally does. Love from above. I think it speaks to like how much this faction is willing to sacrifice to get back their leader. Also, I mean, it's a Call of Duty game, so you just have to have a mission like this.
Yeah. It's good to have the high ground, eh?
Oh, for sure. Oh boy.
Jeez. Everywhere.
06, Jaguar 4-1 is bingo fuel. Egressing at this time.
What does this mean? He's out of gas. We're on our own again.
Where's Alex? Alex, help him out, will you?
There he is. Oh. Ah. Back here. I think the first time I played this next section coming up, I guess what the voice lines effectively did for me as a player is it kept me in this mind state where I wanted to help. In the Piccadilly attack, which we saw, it's the second mission, there's a section where there are hostages by a bus, you get an audible call out.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, and so this with this mortar thing, I'm kind of on the same page. I'm like, look, we just have to go assault this. And so you feel the sense of not just camaraderie, but also this sense of proficiency, I guess.
Right.
With your squad. Is there a telephone pole? What's happening here? Yeah. All right. I don't remember for this, so I just gotta make a play.
What just blows my mind is the amount of weapons and detail on the weapons are just.
And I mean, in the multiplayer, like we have this little red dot sight. We have there are literally dozens and dozens of attachments that all have to work and function together. So yeah, tremendous amount of work, and the fact that Call of Duty is an annualized series and they're able to do this.
Yeah.
Pretty. I mean, yeah, pretty impressive. All right. Deer loves going first, man. This is who he is.
Just always needs a boost, though.
He does, yeah. If only he had.
Hadir's only 4 foot 11.
Feisty.
I kid, Aiden Bristow, if you're watching. Aiden's a healthy 6 feet tall like myself. Some walls are just taller than others.
Yes. Absolutely the case. Jeez! Oh, there's a guy prone down there. Wait for the hard breathing. So you have to do a lot of like heavy breathing for that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the breaths,
I breathe
the
heavy.
grunts, the groans. Covered it all.
Nope.
Oh, jeez. It's a large blast radius.
Okay. A little pistol action. It's a little John Wick.
All stations, Bravo 2-6. All mortars down. Building is
Work, Kyle.
Oh, jeez. Now I wish I didn't have a pistol.
Oh, no.
Mistakes were made. It only has 10 rounds, too. All right, we can still fix this.
There you go.
Something. There we go. Really got to hoof it back. Jeez. Definitely way out of position. There he is.
That's right. This is super long.
Yeah. And I really like that. It feels like one of the main events of the game in terms of like sieging a U.S. embassy and defending it.
Yeah, you're right. So often you're on the offensive.
Yeah. There we go.
Oof.
No!
Yeah, that guy's.
Oh my God.
That guy was strapped,
Whiffed it,
literally.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Woo! It's Stacy!
I thought he killed her. I really did. I missed that first shot, so I thought he just shot her.
Oh, be still. Be still, my beating heart. Stacy is safe. Everyone loves Stacy. Uh-oh.
He's gone.
got him, Captain. We will find him.
Hadir, get your team to the crossroads. Bring everything you've got.
Yes, sister.
What's the plan, Farah?
The wolf is with the butcher. Terrorist cells in the city will hide them. Bravo will clear house to house in search. My people will help you. If they try to escape to the mountains, there is only one road. Tariq al-Maut, the highway of death. The Russians bombed it during the invasion, killing the people trying to escape. There is a village at the crossroads. I sent Hadir and his fighters there to prepare an ambush. Alex and I will join them and take up firing positions above the road, lying in wait for the wolf.
All right, we are about 4 minutes out. And this is
highway is
actually,
below us.
I'm gonna let this
Hadir
play
has
out.
reinforcements positioned to ambush the wolf.
We're easy prey for the Russians out here.
Yes, our window is short. Barkov's men will be on the hunt. He has lost control. We will come to take it back. Desir, hold! Let's move. We have to cut the wolf off at the pass. Before the war, this village had families and laughter.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Tell me a joke.
What happens when the CIA goes to sleep?
What?
They go undercover.
Not bad.
Or well, we better in
Lame
English.
dad jokes.
You told it in English.
That's great.
Hell of a soldier, terrible comedian. Echo 3-1.
Hadir took the high ground for us.
So this is actually really good timing because this is, I would not want to show this. I would want people to experience
He died fighting.
this entire mission. And here's Hadir's, but we will get Hadir's rifle because it's totally badass.
This way. Hadir is waiting for us. I told him to bring everything he's got.
Alex, check this out.
Monster.
Check this out.
Armor piercing at 600 meters. I put it together myself. Please, use it.
I'll take it.
Solid heater.
Protect her with your life. She will do the same for you.
Thanks, Hadir.
Perfect for this distance. I'll spot for you, Alex.
We are brothers now. Make me proud, Alex.
Alex is clearly super strong. Because having run around with those 50 cal guns in the sniper movies, they're like, oh, it's very taxing.
Get that functional strength. That's what it's all about.
It's video game magic right there.
All right, folks, if you're just joining us, I apologize because this is poor timing for you. But this is IGN Plays Live, presented by Midway, in theaters November 8th. I'm here with Chad Michael Collins, who plays the character that we are playing right now, Alex 3-1. Unfortunately, we only have 2 minutes left, but we're kind of starting to get into spoiler territory at the end of this mission, so I don't really want to move much further anyway. So I guess I kind of want to close out and just ask you what this experience meant for you, just as a person, as an actor.
Like I said before, it's one of the best acting experiences of my entire life. I just met an incredible amount of hardworking, super talented people. My co-stars, everyone at Infinity Ward and Activision as well. It was mind-blowing, and like I was talking to you about before, it was my first really big splash foray into the video game arena, and I just loved the medium. I loved the way that the process. I learned so much about how you make a video game start to finish, and as a gamer growing up and to this day, it really pulled back the curtain for me and gave me a whole new respect. I know people are out there and they can be very harsh. They're very harsh on games, just like they're critics of television and film. No one intends to make a bad game. No one intends to make a bad television, or film product, right? But just seeing the thousands of people it takes and the years it takes to make this game. Yeah. And it's never going to be perfect. The big glitches, like your little buggy box in that first mission that freaked you out when Alex was dark, That's the sort of stuff that it's like, no one intended for that to happen.
Sure.
It was a little bit of a glitch.
I think the good news for you is you ended up participating in a game that ended up, I think, being very good. And definitely kind of like delivering on what it set out to evoke. And I think it's going to be super exciting. So you're joining us on Unlocked. So there will be more with Chad. And of course, we have a ton of Call of Duty Modern Warfare content out on the site. A lot of us are playing it, the multiplayer, the single player. You can check out some of the gameplay Just a clean run. If you don't want any voice over it, go to IGN.com. You can check all that stuff out. And for all things Call of Duty and first-person shooters in general, you're already in the right place right here at IGN. Take care.